Hello, this is Brian. Today is Monday, October 18th, 2021. I am parked along Caliente-Bodfish Road between Tehachapi and Isabella Lake. A little bit closer to Tehachapi now. And I want to provide a spotlight on trees video today. And my spotlight focuses on one of the symbols of California, the blue oak. And here we have Quercus douglasii. This is the blue oak, one of the big symbols of California's past, present, and hopefully its future. So blue oak is usually a fairly small, sometimes medium-sized, usually winter-deciduous tree. It's a member of the Beech family, the Fagaceae, like other oaks, and it is a member of the white oak group, the Lepidobalanus subsection Lepidobalanus, also known as Leucobalanus, and often also known as subsection Quercus. So you can see here, it's a fairly mature blue oak and a lot of smaller, younger blue oaks all around here. It is, again, relatively small, sometimes quite stunted sized, but it also can get up to occasionally 60 feet tall. It is one of the symbols of California's foothill woodland communities and oak savanna communities, which I am going to go into more detail momentarily. So again, you can see here, like a lot of the white oaks, the bark is kind of ridgy, sometimes slightly checkered, slightly similar to a valley oak, but valley oaks are usually a little more checkered. The valley oak is a close relative, Quercus lobata, that can be found sometimes integrating with blue oak in upland communities. One thing about these trees, they are very hardy, especially to heat and drought. These trees are very hardy, I'm telling you. These are some of the most drought resistant trees here in California. See, what we have here, this is a blue oak stand, or a blue oak stand is basically, sometimes it's basically a stand of one species of tree. There are occasional Pinus sabinianas, gray pines, growing in here, but this is what we call a blue oak woodland, which has widely spaced trees, lots of space between the crowns, and since the trees are widely spaced, their crowns spread out quite a bit more and have sometimes are even broader than they are tall. And that's characteristic of a lot of blue oak woodlands. And blue oak woodlands take on different forms. You see here across Caliente-Bodfish Road, sometimes they mix in with gray pines in the foothill communities. I think we're below 3,000 feet, but I've seen blue oaks even above 5,000 feet occasionally. They're usually more of a low elevation, from maybe just a few hundred feet above sea level at the foothills of the Central Valley. And usually you'll see these mostly below 5,000, but I have seen them at Tehachapi Mountain Park at above 5,000 feet. So they do have quite a wide elevational range. And so back to what I was talking about, you can see it's a fairly dense woodland. It's still open, you know, so it's not a forest, it's a woodland. So in other words, the canopies are spaced far enough apart where there's a lot more light coming down to the floor of the woodland. So blue oaks are more of a woodland slash savanna tree as opposed to a forest tree, though I imagine it's possible for them to be found occasionally in forests. So now, I keep mentioning this word savanna. What do I mean by a savanna? Well, if you're familiar with some of the plains of Africa, well, they have these acacia trees that are extremely widely spread apart. sometimes by more than 100 feet, 200 feet. Sometimes they're spread apart very far. That is basically a savanna. It's a very extremely open type of woodland. Now these ones here are in a denser woodland, but I have seen these in savanna-like stands as well. So, and sometimes it's the only type of tree you're going to find in the area. And there might not even be any shrubs in the understory. There might not be any shrubs, or very few sometimes. So now we're going to go talk about some of the other features of this tree. So blue oak leaves are quite variable in shape. As you see here, often they have very, very shallow lobation, as you can see here. They're bluish, grayish green, hence the name blue oak. And you can see here, trees are usually not super fast growing. They might be more vigorous in their youth. But you can see various degrees of very shallow rounded lobes. The rounded lobes, that's quite a characteristic of the white oak group. And then some leaves have very little lobing, and some leaves, like this one here, just has a little bit of a wavy edge, and some of them don't have any lobation at all. So now you can see why this tree is called blue oak, because of the lightish bluish cast it causes. And then when they get to be mature, they're usually branched quite low. The branches will sometimes be quite low, and then they spread out into these beautiful, rugged, twisty, curvy branches. And then a lot of times you will see a lot of saplings. I've been noticing a lot of saplings in this woodland. I know. Maybe. My friend Brad's also checking out this little stand of blue oaks here too. I know. But so, as you can see here, again, the leaves are quite variable shaped on these blue oaks. They're slightly more pale they're a little darker on the top and slightly paler on the underside of the leaves. So now we're going to go to the next feature, the flowers of the blue oak. The male flowers are these little dangling, stringy catkins, and then the female flowers look like miniature acorns that haven't developed yet. The problem is, this year the blue oaks don't seem to be producing acorns, and I was tired of waiting to record the spotlight on this tree, so I couldn't help it anymore. But there are some acorn cups here on the ground. These are what the acorn cups look like. They're very small. The oak's acorns are not very large, maybe about 3/4 to maybe 1.25 inches. So the acorns are not very large. I'm trying to see if I can find anything on this tree that might have some acorns, but yeah, I have not been lucky to find anything over here. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look like can really show. I'm going to try to see if I can at least find a spent acorn on the ground, so I can kind of give you an idea of the shape of it. Here we go. Here's an old spent one right here. That's maybe they get a little bit bigger than that, but blue oak acorns are quite small, and just as true to the white oak group, they ripen in one growing season, so the flowers come on it during the springtime. Yes. The female flowers come on during the springtime. Say tomorrow, we're going to talk about 2022. So, say it's spring 2022. The male flowers are going to pollinate the female flowers, and then by fall of 2022, they'll be ripened. So you don't have to wait 2 growing seasons. These white oaks, these type of white oaks, they ripen in 1 growing season. Now, blue oak's distribution is quite widespread here in California. It ranges from up north, it goes down the foot of the Sierra Nevada, and it goes down usually the inner side of the coast ranges, and then it's mostly in these low elevation foothills, and then it goes down towards far northwestern LA County over by Liebre Mountain, Sawmill Mountain, near that area, in the far northwestern corner of LA County and the Angeles National Forest. Doesn't make it down to the San Gabriel Mountains, but the Sierra Pelona range, Sierra Pelona, it might be found as far down as there. And as you can tell, a lot of these blue oaks are upland trees. Well, what I'm talking about is, since they're such drought-tolerant trees, they can handle these upslope conditions where it can get very hot and dry. So, however, they can sometimes establish in bottomlands, and sometimes when you get those trees, they can get quite large. Those are where you're going to be more likely to get your larger specimens of these blue oaks. But what can I say? This is definitely the old Pacifica, California, that a lot of people who live here don't even get to see because they don't take the time to go out and see it. This is the old California blue oaks, grapevines, valley oaks. This is the old California. These low elevation foothills and woodlands and small mountains. In this area, they're very common in this area. We are, like I said, a little north of Tehachapi, and yes, we get these beautiful, absolutely gorgeous trees here. So I want to go into the again, back to the leaves of these oaks. I told you about, that they're very shallowly lobed, sometimes not even lobed at all, sometimes wavy edged. So I told you that they were typically deciduous. Well, it's October right now. These trees usually when they drop their leaves, they'll drop a little bit later. They're usually one of the later trees to shed their leaves, but you can see some leaves are starting to color and fall off. They're not known for dramatic fall colors like some other oaks are, but they might get some yellowish, maybe some slight russet tinges. As you can kind of see, some of these leaves are kind of getting a little russet tinge, and then they just generally fall off during late fall, sometimes early winter. And I've done quite a bit of research and reading up on blue oaks, and sometimes these blue oaks can, in warmer, moister locations in canyons, might be able to retain some to most of their leaves during the course of the winter. So some of them might be only semi-deciduous, shedding some of their leaves in fall and winter. And moister canyon bottoms and stuff like that, that's what I've read before. Bruce Pavlik's Oaks of California, I believe, is where I read that years ago. Bruce Pavlik, Oaks of California, by Kachuma Press. That's what I've read about them, that some of them can retain leaves during the winter in wetter locations. And then there are times when blue oaks can also lose their leaves early during the worst of droughts. I've read that they can also be deciduous early on before the usual fall leaf drop. And they can sometimes shed their leaves during the summer, which is a form of drought resistance. So they can survive the worst of the droughts. So when it's super dry, even for blue oak standards, these guys can sometimes shed their leaves too. Well, I think that's going to about wrap it up for this spotlight on trees. Really looking forward to finally spotlighting this awesome piece of California's rural landscape. Beautiful oak, beautiful blue oak woodlands and stuff over here. Just really are beautiful. It's a beautiful afternoon here in fall. Fortunately, I couldn't show you really what the acorns look like too well because of the lack of them this year. They don't always produce every year. But I believe this is going to do it. Thanks for watching my spotlight on trees. I hope you found this informative and helpful in identifying trees here in the beautiful Golden State of California. Thanks for watching.